The prosecution and defense in the Robert Seth Denton triple murder trial gave their closing arguments on Monday. The following are portions of their arguments.
Let's talk about the evidence that you heard from the witness stand and you saw from the physical exhibits. The evidence in this case is that the defendant's M1 Garand is the murder weapon, and that M1 Garand fired 7 red-tipped Hornady bullets and killed Tasha Milhorn, Lena Marie Rose, and James Milhorn. That the defendant used the M1 Garand and killed those 3 victims, wearing his camouflage jacket with his dog tags, his military pin, and his ammunition. And he walked out, leaving his sisters and siblings covered in his grandmother's blood, with her skin, her brain matter, her body tissue covering them, her bone embedded in Callie's leg, her tissue embedded in Aiden's back, and he left with his mother's blood on his boots and his jacket. He walked up to the trailer where his grandfather was working and told him to call 911 and went down the hill. Now, throughout the course of this trial, you heard from numerous witnesses. You heard from the defendant's friends. You heard from Joseph Whitaker, who told you that he and the defendant were roommates from June until August. And during that time, the defendant told him multiple times that he hated his mother and that he wanted to go on a shooting rampage. You heard from Thomas Miller. He took the defendant and was with him when he purchased the M1 Garand. He was with the defendant and saw the multiple types of .30 caliber ammunition that the defendant had at his apartment. Premeditation. He also told you that he went to the shooting range with the defendant and that they practiced with the M1 Garand. You also heard from Richard Montgomery, the gun shop owner. He verified the purchase of the M1 Garand by the defendant, and he told you that on the reenactment overnight trip, he heard the defendant say how he hated his mother. You heard from Amanda Vance, the aunt of the defendant, who he stayed with for a period of time after he came home from the military, who helped him get the apartment, who he spoke to on a regular basis. And she told you about the trip to the fair that the whole family had taken on Saturday, August 29th. She also told you about going to the water park and all the events that led up to late afternoon, August 29th, 2015. And what she also told you was about the phone call that she had with the defendant just prior to the murders. And that in that phone call, the defendant said, "Where's my mom?" And she told you that she told the defendant she is living with your grandparents.
I told you in opening arguments, the evidence that they don't show you is every bit as important as the evidence they do show you. Look at the evidence in this case. Again, an M1 Garand, World War II rifle. What did Thomas Miller tell you? That he and the defendant had an interest in historical rifles. They went to the shooting range a lot. They shot cans of ammunition if they had the money to purchase it. So would it be unusual to have ammunition in the defendant's car, particularly when he's going to the shooting range? No. That evidence isn't evidence of a crime at all. It's evidence that corroborates what the defendant has told you. There's DNA on the clip of that rifle. Of course it is. It's defendant's rifle. He told you he had it slung on over his shoulder on August 29, 2015. Is defendant's DNA on that rifle evidence of a crime? No. General Nelson told you that Steve Williams inventoried the jacket, sent it off to the TBI, and that the evidence supports that statement. She told you about 14 magazine clips, 13 of which you have in front of you, and one that was fired. Folks, we're not alleging that there's a missing clip. There's extra clips because you saw the photographs. You heard his testimony, inventoried and photographed. They only photographed 12 clips in the jacket, not 14. And then he said he put them back in the jacket and sent them to the TBI. Mark Dunlop sat right here, went through his reports and said he was the first person to get that jacket out of the TBI, secure vault, and there was no ammunition in it. None. Not 12 clips, not 13 clips, not 14 clips, 0. Folks, this jacket that they want you to consider as a crucial piece of evidence is a magic jacket, because every time you open it up, there's something new in it. Who found the jacket? Detective Porter, right? He saw it laying there. You've got a close-up of that jacket turned inside out, and there is nothing in, on, or around the jacket. Detective Porter then tells you that it appeared to him at some point later, somebody opened up the jacket and had their hands down in it. He told you that right there from the witness stand. Somebody placed a placard beside it. Wasn't him. He didn't know who it was. We couldn't even introduce the exhibit that was presented as ID only because it was a mystery picture. Nobody testified who took it. Nobody knew. But he said that somebody altered the jacket after he saw it. The next time the jacket is opened, there's bandages and a cap found in it. After the search warrant was executed on defendant's car and the other bandages were found. Detective Williams told you that the jacket was inventoried after the search warrant was executed. Where did the defendant tell you the magazine clips were? In his car, the same place the bandages are. And at some point later, they're in the jacket. Even more mysterious. Again, Detective Williams specifically told you he inventoried and photographed the contents of the jacket. What did he tell you he found? The ammunition, cap, and the bandages. He tell you found any dog tags or a button? No, he did not. Who told you that? Mark Dunlop at the TBI crime lab said when he opened the jacket, he found those items. You saw the photographs. Detective Williams, General Nelson, General Stavas, and 2 other folks at least in that room. And none of them found any dog tags. Those were found at some point later. If Detective Williams testified truthfully, we would imagine that he would, then somebody else accessed that jacket before it got to the TBI lab. There is no other explanation.